Hey everybody, it's Eric with Side Stage Magazine, and today I have the privilege of sitting down with Mr. Tommy Victor of Prong. How are you, sir?
Good, Eric. How you doing?
Great. As I told you earlier, been a huge fan, and so being the metal fanboy that I am, the boss asked me, and I jumped all over the opportunity to come down here.
Good. Yeah, no, we were just talking about playing Hammerjacks and this place, the Loft, and I mean, you know, we've been through here a lot of times over the years, and you remember that. So.
I do remember that. I remember, like I said, it was '94. I think was the first album that I actually got turned on to you. I mean, obviously, I know there's albums before,
yeah,
but it was the Clinic that I got turned on to you, and then from that point on, obviously, I grabbed the albums before.
Good.
And have been following ever since then. Just like I said, big old fanboy, I guess you could call me.
Cool.
You're roughly 32 dates on this tour. I think you're halfway through it right now.
Not quite. I mean, we have another 3.5 weeks. So,
okay.
And then Prong is doing headlining shows as well on the days between this package. So
awesome.
Yeah, like we're playing like Omaha and Grand Junction and Valparaiso, Indiana.
Okay.
So if anybody's in those locales or is interested, I mean, it's on our Facebook, Prong, or on prongmusic.com. So yeah, I mean, we're not quite to halfway through.
How has the tour been so far?
Oh, it's been amazing. It's great. I mean, it's great to be on a tour with somebody like Testament and Sepultura. I mean, it's amazing. Prong has been so active, but still, like, not active enough. I mean, people are like, where you been? And I'm like, well, we've been putting records out and continually, and people still just don't know. I mean, a lot of the older fans, they aren't that in tune with the internet and, you know, and streaming, etc., as much as, you know, some of the younger kids are. So there's a lot of Prong fans out there. They just don't know weren't doing anything. And to be on a big tour with a more of a marquee going on, they're more aware now that the band's been active. Like, wow, what is this record? And I'm like, well, you know, welcome to 2017 Prong now. So
there you go. What do you, or what does the band collectively do, as you said, to prepare for a tour? As well, I don't want to say as grandiose, but it is a pretty big tour, such as the one that you're on now. I mean, is it different from, I guess, when you're just doing the headlining versus being in the package deal like you are right now?
Well, we have to do both. We have to prepare for both scenarios because, like I said, we're doing headlining shows, which, you know, it incorporates a lot more material to prepare. So, which has been benefiting our opening slots because we've been mixing the setup around a lot. So we prepare, you know, 20 songs, and then we can only do, let's say, 7 or 8 opening for this package. Then we've been mixing it up. So like one night we're coming out with Ultimate Authority, which is on No Absolutes, and then the next day we're playing Disbelief, which is the first song on Primitive Origin. So it's like, oh, what are we doing tonight? So we could sort of like mix it up, which is cool. But the preparation is just knowing the songs. I mean, I've jammed, you know, Art and I have been playing for 5 years together. Mike, the bass player, has been in and out, and he knows all the songs. So it's not that much preparation. It's more preparation for me personally because I have to remember lyrics. And then if there's new material, it's like coordinating it to sing and play the songs is always difficult for me. I got to practice them like crazy.
Understandable, and especially, I mean, you figure with the discography that you have, I mean, there's a lot of material there.
There's a lot now. Now it's getting crazy. I mean, there's so many songs.
2016, we saw the release of No Absolutes. You talked about it with the shows and the tours and everything, but how has the overall fan response been?
Well, it's still growing. I mean, it's. I'd like to work the record longer, but the label wanted to put out another record fast, so we have a new one coming out in July 28th, called 0 Days. But back to No Absolutes. I mean, the response has been fantastic. I mean, we've gotten a lot of attention on Sirius XM, you know, on Liquid Metal, and the Spotify numbers are are amazing. So as far as, you know, streaming plays, and then that's generated people who've been interested in the older stuff too. So it's this tour is still a No Absolutes era tour, or on this record cycle rather. So I mean, a lot of people are getting turned on to that record continually. So it's been good. I mean, I think this. I mean, I would have liked to see more longevity out of this record, but these days it's gone back to the era of Kiss, where they put out a record every 8 months or something. So now we've been churning them out like crazy now.
Okay, well, with churning the CDs out or the albums out, how is the writing process? I mean,
it's a challenge.
I mean, I would think so. If you're banging out that much, I mean, that's a lot of pressure to come up with, I guess, new material or the next album.
Yeah, I mean, Carved into Stone. I mean, of the recent records, right? Carved into Stone was 2013. Then we did Ruining Lies 2014. Songs from the Black Hole 2015. Amidst that, a live record, which is called, that we had put out by ourselves, which is like an official bootleg called Unleashed in the West, which is like a best hits live record that we have for sale. And then No Absolutes 2016, and 2017 is going to be 0 Days. So as soon as I get off the road, I have a day off maybe where I just unpack my luggage, and then at my desk putting riffs into Pro Tools and just figuring out more material. What are we going to do next? So, I'm thinking about that now. I mean, I just finished up a new record, and I'm like, I'm going to have to start, documenting some riffs, because, I look back upon them, and I'm like, well, that one was pretty cool, but there's so many riffs I got to review and see what's going on. And then lyrics, too, for me. I mean, that's a big part of Prong, is the lyrics. So, I got to read books, I got to read articles, just to generate the mind a little bit, and then I go on Notepad or whatever and put song titles down, and then it's just coordinating all that at a rapid pace, and getting in with the producer and seeing what we're going to do. So, which is Chris Collier in the last couple of records. Before that was Steve Evans, and we go over demos and then decide what we're going to rearrange and then work on. I mean, it's a crazy long process. To me, I compare it to a jigsaw puzzle in a lot of ways, where there's a lot of pieces, and then you start putting a couple little pieces together, and then it formulates the whole record inevitably. And it never is not a challenge. It always is.
Going down memory lane, what are some of the memories of your days? I'm digging deep of CBGBs.
Well, there's a lot of memories. I mean, I don't know if this is X-rated or whatever. I mean, or if it's G-rated rather, your show. But mainly was just the hours of working there. I mean, when I was working there, the hours. And I was like, how do we do all this? I mean, we didn't have digital technology. We didn't have any phones and cell phones. We didn't even have pagers or anything. And I would work at CB's. I'd get there at 3 in the afternoon, and then probably I'd work till like 3, and then we'd lock the doors, and then we'd just party till 6, and then maybe go to somebody's house to apartment on the Lower East Side and just party some more until 8, maybe get back, and then somehow I would work on Prong stuff amidst that, and and write songs, send out mailers and contact all the fanzines back then, and do promo for the group at the same time. So it was like this crazy thing, and then we do gigs on the weekends too. And then I will go back Sunday. I'd be in like places like Baltimore on a Saturday night, and then somehow manage to get back to work on Sunday afternoon for the matinees, which would start at noon. I mean, just like we were just constantly moving and constantly doing stuff. Constantly on the go, constantly partying, constantly going crazy all the time. I mean, I got burnt out pretty fast on that, but back in the CB's days, it was like that. And then the other bands, the hardcore matinees, I mean, there's so many great bands. There's a lot of clubs, too, apart from CB's, but those shows were very historical and memorable, like the bands that came out of the era when I was working the soundboard there, and the bands that we played with are pretty historical, they're legendary rather. So, bands like, Agnostic Front, Judge, Straight Ahead, Breakdown, New York Hoods. I could go on and on. Rest in Pieces. It's just in Warzone. I mean, we played with all these groups, Crumbsuckers, and then the metal bands that would sort of, would come in. I remember I was hanging out with Gene Hoglan, and I mixed Dark Angel at CDs.
Oh, wow.
We had a metal show with Possessed, Dark Angel, and Ludacris, and there was so many, Then the next day there would be a hardcore show during the week, like Warzone, and then White Zombie and Helmet, and I mean, like all these bands came out of that scene, and it was just. Obviously, Dark Angel. It was like they had these combat nights, and it was just so much. Then regular sort of pop music that came through there was pretty memorable too. I don't know if you could consider Living Color, but they were like almost like a house band there.
Right.
The years. And like I was good friends with Vernon and bands that went on to be ultra mega massive. So. Soundgarden played there. Green River, which is a precursor to Pearl Jam, were through there. And it's just countless bands and great scene. Absolutely fantastic.
What bands or music inspire you?
The main group I must say is Killing Joke. Still is probably one of my favorite bands. And then, I'm a huge Morrison fan. Like I love the Doors. But I've been talking a lot to people, and like what I listened to years ago. Deep Purple and early Sabbath, and eventually into Priest, and then I was listening to like Cat Scratch Fever at the same time. I was listening to Iggy and the Stooges, and then I would be listening to Return to Forever and Weather Report and Yes and Tull. I always was all over the place, and Prong is sort of all over the place. When people say, oh, they're groove metal, they're industrial metal, they're hardcore, thrash, we're none of that and all of it. I just listened to everything, and it's from a real standard strong point. A lot of my favorites are like post-punk groups, and as far as metal goes, like we were into Killing Joke, and then into like goth stuff, like Sisters of Mercy, and then we heard like Celtic Frost and Creator and Destruction, and we're like, wow, this stuff is really cool, and we sort of combine that with the Bad Brains, and which is another one of my all-time favorite groups, and and New York hardcore too. So then the industrial stuff like Neubauten, and that was a big influence on Prong as well, and Swans. So it's just so much stuff I've listened to over the years. These days, I sort of got into classical music a lot.
Okay.
And I listen to a wide array of that, and just it mellows me out a little bit. And I'll go to the Philharmonic, and it's just explosive, like seeing percussive instruments of that nature at that volume. It's just really intense for me.
I can say I can feel that or understand that on some level, because speaking of Spotify, my Spotify account ranges everything from Cradle of Filth to Joan Osborne and everything in between.
Yeah, streaming has its benefits and has its disadvantages. People's attention level is a lot lower. Like I know students like, oh, let's listen to the new blah 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 record, and people go, oh, this sucks. I'm like, we can't even. No one even listens to the whole thing anymore.
No.
Not no one, but so I made an attempt. Like during if I go hiking or something, I'll download off of Spotify, and then I'll listen to a complete record and see what's going on with stuff. So like the new Sepultura and New Testament, we were going on tour with them. I wanted to familiarize myself with what they were doing, and that's a good thing about streaming too. And it's really hard. Going to record stores is kind of there are none, and you really have to make an attempt, and everything's on the phone, man. So
I know we touched on it earlier, and we're gonna try to wrap this up because I know you got a busy schedule or a busy night. What's on the horizon? I know you mentioned the headlining and possibly the new CD coming out.
Well, it's not positive. It's coming out July 28th. Yeah.
And are there? I'm wondering, is there going to be a tour off that new CD or?
Oh, yeah. There better be. It's necessity. The summer is very busy. I mean, we're doing Wacken, Hellfest, and then a Rock Hard Festival, and then a plethora of other festivals from June through the end of August in Europe.
Okay.
So, after that, we're trying to get on a bunch of tours here that are going out in November. So, we're going to promote the record as best as we can. I'd like to do another opening slot thing, and a lot of people come. I'm at the merch booth at night, and people are saying that, oh, it'd be good to have you guys do a headline tour so we can hear this. I'm like, we can't play everything unless we're doing a headlining slot. I mean, with Prong, there's people that are into the Prove You Wrong record, or they're into Cleansing or Rude Awakening, and we could somehow cover little bits and pieces of those records. But on a headlining tour, we can do it all, including Force Fed and Primitive Origins material, and it goes on. So, and the Power of the Damager record, and Carved into Stone, Ruining Lives, No Absolutes, and then 0 Days now.
Okay. Well, sir, I thank you again.
Thank you, Eric.
Side Stage Magazine and the fans, thank you. And
thank you, Side Stage Magazine. And
I'll see you out there.
Okay,
have a great show,
Thank you.
And thank you again.
Thanks.